I have a master volume, naturally enough no sound if brought down, and sound if turned up. And this is for this oscillator section alone. Add in a second one, we can hear both sounds. That second sound is getting quieter, very quiet, or essentially silent. Likewise, I could do the inverse and add them in and mix them as I desire. I can have a filter. Here I can choose a filter, modulation, or a wave shaper. And at the bottom I can choose once again filter, modulator, or wave shaper. So we can see here we have complete freedom on order. I can have a shaper and then a filter. I can have a modulator then another modulator. You don't have to have just one of each item. You can have a combination of any or none. And so once you've worked out how to use a single one here, then they all apply in the same fashion across the board here with the same selections once again. So we can see we're essentially having to learn just two pieces here, and then we know the whole set across the ABC. To start with, if I choose filter, we can choose a variety of modes from a low pass filter through to a collection of high pass filters, band pass, notch and comb filter. You can choose the transposition or the frequency. So this is a low pass. 440 is going to be allowed to pass through this. If I reduce this down, we can hear the sound is very much muted out because my low pass filter is essentially eliminating my source frequency. You can see it has some sort of roll-off shelf because I'm below my frequency. However, it is still audible, just not as clear as it would be either without the filter or if the filter had passed my relevant frequency. Here you can see, for example, low pass filter minus 6 decibels, minus 12 decibels, or minus 24 decibels, and they relate to how steep the slope is on the low pass filter. If I bring up my waveform, for example, we could pretend that this here is the level where my low pass filter is actually being effectively kicking in, determined by the frequency here. So for argument's sake, we'll call this now 458. We're going to pretend this line is 458. And so I could have, for example, a low pass filter arguably set to minus 6 decibels. Or we could have a low pass filter set to minus 12 decibels. Or we could have a low pass filter set to minus 24 decibels. The inverse is essentially true with the high pass filter, and the same set of rules, for example minus 24, minus 12 and minus 6. The slopes I'm creating here aren't based on actual factual numbers. I'm not reading somewhere a secret minus 6, minus 12. I'm just trying to describe this conceptually. We can also alter the resonance and the actual decibel gain that the filter controls over your sound. We can choose to modulate. Here I can frequency shift, and this sounds a lot different than just a singular tone. If I offset this a bit, we can hear quite a strange sound. If I use the MIDI keyboard so that I can alter this as well as playing this note, we can hear how the frequency shift has a dramatic effect, naturally enough, on the frequency. We could also set this to ring modulation, which will sound similar in some cases, but does work quite differently. And we can also choose a wave shaper, and this is effectively multiplying your signal. Here we have a sine. If I choose a triangle, this is trying to turn my sine into this triangular waveform. We can't see the resulting sound here as such, at least not in this instance. But you can use this as another form for altering the sound, naturally enough shaping the waveform. At the bottom we can choose, again, filter, modulate a waveform, wave shaper, once again a secondary one, and effect we can choose here a set of copy, paste and parameters. If I return back to this view here, we'll be able to see that this does take us straight to the effect and what type it is. We'll have a look at the effects next.